Greetings and good morning. Welcome back to Seven Certified Peer Specialist YouTube channel. So today, we're going to pick up with another video about my favorite subject, recovery, reference the 5 stages of process. So, what I'm going to do today is we're going to do an after action report. Now, you know that I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army and I retain a lot of perspective, views, the way I do things, as I did in the military. Um, When it comes to, I guess you could say, verifying, analyzing decisions that I make, going back, looking at things. And so I did it with the video yesterday, starting the conversation about the recovery process, beginning with the first stage, impact of illness. And so I looked and I said, you know what? There's something that I really need to go over in reference to the dangers. Okay, remember there's dangers in every stage. So briefly, after action report in reference to impact of illness, um, and the dangers is that the person will redefine themselves, and here in this case we have herself, in mental illness terminology that will automatically limit their future. And so here it says impact of illness is time from the initial onset. So you know what I'm saying now. The initial onset of symptoms um, of the illness or is experiencing being diagnosed with a behavioral health disorder. So you you will redefine yourself even with experiencing the symptoms. Okay. And then when you get a diagnosis, it's a matter of acceptance. It's like, oh gosh, now I'm diagnosed with this disorder, that disorder, because that's how they're listed in the diagnostic manual of mental disorders. I believe that's the correct, but that's close. So that is another space to experience being redefining yourself. So I wanted to really highlight that, and going forward, I will with each one when it comes to the diagnosis versus undiagnosed, you're still experiencing the symptoms. And so we don't want to be discouraged by getting the diagnosis because we like to equate the importance of illness or mental health with physical health, mental health. If you were experiencing symptoms that upon testing would say that you could have some problems with your liver, my phone's going off like bells. Okay, you're having problems with your liver. Based on symptoms, you went to your primary care, they referred you to a liver specialist, and so you said, well, it was better off I didn't know. You would never say that, okay, with treatment to any other part of your body. But then when it comes to mental health, we're like, well, I then if that's the case, I'm going to go through redefining myself when I get the diagnosis. Well, sure, but you'd rather have the diagnosis. Just as you would want a diagnosis for cancer, you would want a diagnosis for heart problems. You don't want to go on without that diagnosis. So I wanted to highlight that and do that after action report. Diagnosed versus undiagnosed. So going forward, we will be able to point that out as we go along. Okay, we did that. So today's stage we're going over is life is limited. And just take a look at my man there. He is definitely the picture of what we're saying life is limited. Okay. Um, my guy is like, hey, okay, just look at the picture for a few seconds. And when you're talking about life is limited, okay, um, you're talking about a question, okay, and it's a question of possibilities. What are my possibilities? How will I relate to any sense of possibility once I have redefined myself as mentally ill? Okay. This is what you're looking at. This is the picture, okay, that okay, going the wrong way. That when this um this technique was created and they wanted to add pictorials. A lot of people learn by image, visual cues. They wanted to show you what life is limited looks like. Excuse me. Okay. And life is limited is that time when a person has resigned themselves to a life without possibility of anything ever changing. Okay. So this guy is either experiencing symptoms. Okay. We're going to talk about diagnosed versus undiagnosed, or he has a diagnosis, whichever may be the case. Okay. They have resigned themselves. So he has resigned himself. So this is what I can do. Okay. He's sitting there, poor guy, in his chair, his armchair. And you can see he can lean back and go to sleep, push it back forward. He's sitting up, but he's been there all day. Okay. You don't have to have that. How can I put it? It doesn't have to be stated. You can see it. Visual cue. Because in this picture, the creator made it their business to show you the moon. Okay. The television set has run its course of programming. That was back in the day when TV actually went off at a certain time, and then it was the screen, and then it was the anthem or the American flag, and then you went to bed. Yeah, that was in the 60s. So this guy is, this is what is going on. This is what you see. That's the visual cue I pick up from the television set. And you got the remote in his hand, and we're building up to what I know you all are looking at. I see it. A lit cigarette. That's right. That's right. This poor guy is stuck. Let's read on. They believe that their life is limited in ways that are not necessarily true because of the diagnosis and gets stuck. That's what you're looking at in the behavioral health system for years. So in this pictorial graph showing this stage, the second stage, life is limited of the 5-stage recovery process, they're showing you that this guy is diagnosed. Okay, we're going to go with that because the 5-stage recovery process is set on having received a diagnosis. Okay, but when I read through it and looked at it, I'm like, okay, What about all them years I did not want a diagnosis? I would not accept it. Okay. And so that's, based on my experiences. So I have to cover that. But I did need to tell you that the 5-stage recovery process is based on someone who has received a diagnosis. Okay. So in that, um, they may not believe they can work, continue their education, live on their own, okay, or do other things that will bring a sense of meaning and purpose in their life. So, with his diagnosis, he is like, I can't work. Okay. He's been encountering his symptoms, experiencing them over years, decades, during that time at which work was probably unstable. Maybe they experienced some homelessness, possibly, not always. Relationships may have been disrupted. Perhaps they could have been a person, their economical um, level, depending on the other partner or whatever, they lost that. So, a number of reasons why this person is stuck. And if they have a diagnosis, oftentimes we said they feel they may not be able to work, continue education. And why is that? They often resign themselves to a limited life of being on benefits. Oh, yeah, a very hot topic today. And going to the program. So, what are we talking about here? The average person would be like, well, what are you talking about, Seven? Okay, many experiencing mental health, addiction, civilian and veteran alike, are receiving benefits. Okay, all right. I am one. That my benefits is based on my percentage disability. Okay. That was a contentious battle for me because I did not want to resign. Hear the words? To a life in the system. Okay. And so I tried to work. I wanted to work. But then you're dealing with the symptoms, the daily symptoms. So in my case, which is why I'm able to do these videos for you, I sought treatment. I accepted the diagnosis and has been blessed since that time. Okay. And now can advocate for seeking mental health as normal. Which is why I'm doing these videos. So this is a hot topic today. I'm at 13 minutes, so I'm not going to cut you off. We're going to go on. Um, we'll try to work within time restraints, but I don't want to do it at the expense of not giving you information. So we're going to move on. Life is limited is a place where someone can get stuck. Now, looking at someone who is undiagnosed, this is probably the place where you are missing work. You see how it works? This is probably the place where your spouse has been, as we would say, dealing with your situation, and life is limited now. Where are we going to go from here, hon? Yeah, what are we going to do? So I like to give those two sides. And so people often live for years in the behavioral health system without seeing any possibility for having a different life. They seem to always be able to find excuses for not moving on with their lives. Now, we're not saying that in this case, we're saying they're finding excuses because they do have the diagnosis. It is affecting their life, but if there is treatment available, okay, peer support, the behavior health system, if there is treatment, that's when we're saying that you're finding excuses. If we have a program here, it works. We can vouch for this program, but you're going, no, I don't feel like it. Or a lot of times, we're not judging them. You're set in that routine of life is limited. Okay. And it's comfortable. Okay, you may have a parent or a family member who is subsidizing your home, or in other words, you're living with them, and so you don't have to worry about being on your own, taking care of your own. But what happens when that stops? And I've encountered a lot of my clients in the behavioral health field who that happened. And a lot of them, we like to say they outgrew the system. And so they've been in foster care, mental health facilities for a good number of years. And there is no one to take care of them now. They've aged the system. They could be in their early 20s now. And so we have a lot of healthcare systems here who, through their behavioral health, they have programs where they provide housing and other assistance to help individuals who are dealing with an addiction or mental health and not able to function and stay on their own. So we do have programs here, and I had the opportunity to work with that. So going through it, life is limited. Okay, the person is given into the disabling power of the illness. Okay. So, like I said, the disabling powers of the illness, we're going to separate that instruction sharing to its own video after we're done with all the stages. And so the person doesn't like his life the way it is. Right. You may be, say, that individual who you couldn't live on your own, but you have supports. That's what we call that. You have a relative, you can stay with them. Okay, but you may not necessarily like that. You might wish you could live on your own. Okay. Um, but believes it is the best it will ever be. So I'll never be able to live without baby brother. Baby brother got my back. Baby brother got me. He ain't gonna let nothing happen to me. But then how does baby brother feel about that? And what if something, God forbid, happened to baby brother? He is not ready or able to make a commitment to change. Okay. So baby brother may not let me bring friends in the basement, because that's where I live. Um, I think he prefer I move up on the first floor with him, but he said I keep up too much noise. So yeah, but right now, I have my friends over. I get like 900 a month. I give them something, and what him and their friends do, they might drink or whatever else. Um, but baby brother is not cool with that. So baby brother is confronting them, okay, embarrassing them in front of their friends and what have you. So I want to move on my own, man. But see, depending on that situation, if they have a diagnosis, Are they taking medication? That's a whole separate thing. When I approach that, it's going to be very brief, um, but necessary to discuss. So the danger, we got to cover that, and that's why I had to do the after action report for impact of illness, because I really want to distinguish between the diagnosed and the undiagnosed when it comes to the impact of illness. But the danger here at this stage, life is limited, is that the person will resign himself to this life and refuse to acknowledge that there is anything he can do that will make a difference in their life. So if baby brother approached them and say, brother, I think you need to go into a facility. Um, you want to be on your own. I need for you to be on your own because I've met a wonderful woman and person, and she got a ranch in Atlanta, and I'm moving to Atlanta. And I don't want to take you. I've seen that. Okay, in the behavioral health field, it happens. Baby brother have a right to their life as well. And I know a lot of times in my community, ethnically speaking, um, it's looked down upon. When you cannot help out your relative, and well, he got to go somewhere or she got to go somewhere. There's going to be someone that says in the family, well, what say your parents are no longer with us, they're deceased. Well, what would daddy think? What would Uncle Maurice think? What would Aunt Martha think? So um they are going to now have to make a decision. It's a nice place, man. I checked it out. They're going to work with you. They're going to show you how to take your meds because you forget. I have to remind you. Okay. This is the danger at this stage with life is limited, that the individual refused to acknowledge. And that's what my notes meant by they will find excuses for not moving on. Man, I can't handle money. I am, man. Dude, these people got a program. They're going to help you. Okay? So that's life is limited. The role of the certified peer specialist is to instill hope. Now, let me tell you how this goes. Because the other one, we're assisting them at every stage. But when we say instill hope and a sense of possibility and to rebuild a positive self-image for that person, that's when we become a role model. That life is limited, I find, is oftentimes is where our recovery story matters. Um, and it really matters now because you're sharing with them what you did, what I did at this stage, and it worked. And then you give them resources, okay, to whatever um, is in their mind, telling them their diagnosis limits them or the symptoms. You help them get past that. Okay. And you're going to see in the next stages the questions that comes up. So here, um, life is limited. Okay. They're given in two. Okay. And it's a question of possibility. So you're going to see all that. The question, the redefining themselves, the danger. You're going to see it when you see the 5 stages of recovery diagram. Okay, chart. Okay, we'll get to that. All right. Thank you. We are at 24. We're not gonna worry about it, okay? Hanging up with me. I know I have an engaging personality, so you won't be bored. There'll be no boring moments. Okay, thank you for engaging this video. Remember to subscribe if you've not done so already. Like and please share with anyone you know my videos. Share my videos with anyone that you know are experiencing extreme mental duress, mental stress. Yeah, send them my videos, okay? Thank you. God bless, and you all be safe out there. Bye bye.